Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
We're going to hit him very hard. You know, we got to smack him a little bit.
Trump's war on Iran pulls in more countries, further imperiling global energy supplies.
And as Oregon deals with what will likely be a record-breaking year for fires, the state was dealt another blow. Federal grants for two of the largest fires were just denied.
Trump overrode FEMA to deny disaster aid to blue states. Plus, Germany and California hit new records for cheap, clean, renewable energy.
So there's that. All of those stories and more straight ahead from BradBlog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
I don't think we ought to just cut and run. If we can stand the pain of the rising costs of energy, we need to stay the course.
Yeah. What do you mean we, white man? I mean Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, at this point, we're on the verge of becoming the War News Report. But what do you got for us today?
Well, first, Donald Trump's war on Iran expanded this week to include Saudi Arabia, the Red Sea, and the Caspian Sea as oil and gas tankers remain parked in the Strait of Hormuz. Also this week, another hit to global diesel fuel supplies after Ukrainian forces struck two of Russia's biggest oil refineries, significantly disrupting Russia's exporting capacity. On a side note, a new study warns that ships stuck in the Strait of Hormuz could potentially trigger a global super spreader event of invasive species.
Oh, great.
Because of marine organisms attached to the idle vessels that will eventually get transported to other ecosystems around the world.
Oh, good Lord.
In other news, as France and Spain battle historic, out-of-control, climate-intensified wildfires fueled by extreme heat and drought, officials are working on a massive economic aid package to help hundreds of thousands of people and businesses recover. The European Union's crisis commissioner told Reuters that the EU's wildfire response must, quote, evolve to keep up with accelerating climate change. Some economists are warning European leaders that they can no longer afford to ignore the economic impacts of human-caused global warming, that repetitive extreme heat waves have exposed major shortcomings in Europe's infrastructure.
Yeah.
And governments will need to invest billions of euros over coming years to protect the public from increasingly dangerous, deadly heat that is already hurting multiple economic sectors.
Not that anyone's been trying to warn them for decades at this point.
The economists also warned that investors must wake up to the threat that climate change poses to asset values.
Yeah, the investors were warned too.
But in the U.S., as the costs of climate-supercharged weather disasters pile up, Politico has obtained internal administration documents showing that Donald Trump intervened to deny $227 million in disaster funding to 5 Democratic-run states, rejecting eligible disaster requests after FEMA approved the funding.
What a pathetic jerk.
Overall, Trump has approved less than a quarter of blue state disaster requests, but approved 90% for red states, an unprecedented rate since FEMA's creation in 1979.
Twisted.
Relatedly, a coalition of 25 states sued the Trump administration this week, accusing FEMA and DHS of endangering public safety by withholding hundreds of millions of dollars in already approved federal grants for disaster preparedness in an attempt to coerce those states to comply with Trump's unrelated election and immigration policies. The lawsuit also challenges a provision permitting FEMA to cancel grants anytime to punish states. Here's New Jersey's Democratic Attorney General Jennifer Davenport.
None of this is legal. Congress never authorized FEMA to rewrite state election laws, to force states into participating in federal immigration enforcement, or to terminate funding on a whim. These conditions violate the Administrative Procedure Act, ignore the Constitution, and threaten the safety and security of all Americans.
Oh, now we're going to start worrying about what's legal?
Finally, some better news.
Good.
In Germany, for the first time ever, wind and solar power together have generated more electricity than fossil fuels. According to the UK's Carbon Brief, the success of renewables in Germany mirrors the European Union as a whole. In June, clean solar energy became the EU's largest single source of electricity, generating more power than nuclear, natural gas, and wind energy. And California just became the first major electric grid system on the planet to generate more than 50% of its electricity from solar across the entire month.
Yes, it can be done. Let's say we do it. For much more on all of these reports and the ones we couldn't get to today, check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. Find, follow, and share us planet-wide on the social medias, especially Blue Sky at Green News Report. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Yes, it's a Tuesday show. It is a Tuesday show. Oh, man. I'm glad I'm getting to this. I'm glad the reporting's coming out on this. And I'm going to dive all the way in. It's something that's affected all of us. We've all been hearing about it. I've been hearing about it from my wife, warning me about it because of my driving habits. We're going to get into something that was touched upon when we talked about Minneapolis. And we talked about the ways that ICE, in coordination with the DHS and a couple other federal agencies, were surveilling undocumented immigrants. The different tactics they were using, including that nefarious little tactic where they put a fake cell phone tower on one of their vehicles, then drive around a neighborhood where they may suspect there are undocumented immigrants. And when your cell phone gets within a certain range of that tower, that fake tower, it grabs onto that tower because that's the strongest signal available. And then they download all your information. Everything. Straight from there. And that's when they're not getting all of your location data from casino games and apps on your phone, different games and apps, weather apps, that are selling your data in real time to DHS. This is just another step in that story when we talk about the surveillance state that is America now. I mean, we are there. We are there, and, you know, it's so funny because not too long ago, I would hear from the corners of society, hey, they're putting cameras in weird places. There's cameras on birds. Some birds aren't birds. They're robots, and they're flying around with flocks, and they're watching you. Look, we don't need any bird camera conspiracy theories anymore. They're just watching us all the time, everywhere. This began years ago, and it has flourished. And now it has proliferated to the point where it's got the full attention of everybody across the nation, including some people who are willing to do something about it. I do want to begin this with something our HHS secretary said on an interview on CNN, on State of the Union. I want you to hear what RFK Jr. had to say about our constitutional rights.
Beneficial.
So how do you prepare then? How do you prepare for the next pandemic? I mean, that's literally part of your job now because experts think it's going to happen within the next 10 years again.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did virtually everything wrong the last time.
So what about now?
The principal thing that we need to do is we need to listen to what's happening to doctors on the ground. There are 15 million frontline physicians around the world. They're mainly now connected through the internet. We can tell on the front lines what's working and what's not. If we had listened to those doctors during the COVID pandemic, we would have saved potentially millions of lives. There were therapeutics out there that were working. There were doctors that were having no deaths from COVID and treating, in some cases, thousands of patients. And we weren't listening to them. Instead, we were doing the opposite. We were shutting them down. And then, Dana, the other thing that I would say is that we need to protect our constitutional rights. That is the primary obligation
of our country. Mean?
Well, during COVID, we completely dismantled our constitutional rights. We began censoring people in violation of the First Amendment.
But you're saying what not.
Okay, RFK Jr., we need to protect our constitutional rights over health. He goes on to say that specifically our constitutional rights are more important than our health. He talks about how we were surveilled, how we were tracked, how we were controlled. Okay. These people will say whatever serves them at the time. Now, that was just a recent interview. And I want you to keep that fresh in your mind when I go through the absolute trampling of our constitutional rights here with these flock cameras. Flock cameras. Now, Flock is a company. Flock is a company that makes ALPRs, automatic license plate readers. But they're not the only company that does it. But Flock is definitely the most prevalent, has the most contracts, has the most reach. Flock is in 49 states across the United States. Don't think that 50th state, Alaska, is some bastion of privacy. Motorola and Axon have contracts in Alaska. There are ALPRs in every state, and it has exponentially grown to a critical mass right now. Now, we are going to explain to you, for those of you who don't know what Flock cameras are or ALPR cameras are, we are going to get into it. And they are in your state, and they are most likely in your town, and very likely they are in your neighborhood. These are cameras that when you drive by them, they use split-second AI technology to track your license plate, the color, the make, the model, and any other details they can glean from a drive-by, and integrates all this data to a database that disseminates it and makes it readily available to anybody who's got a contract with that camera, which could be a lot of different people, a lot of different entities, lots of contracts. Takes the data, disseminates it quickly, cross-references it, and makes it readily available for anybody who has access. In a split second. Split second. Now, law enforcement agencies obviously are employing these. Obviously. And these cameras, some of them contracted by local law enforcement agencies, are grabbing this data automatically every time. You who may be driving the speed limit or a little bit over, nothing egregious, on your way to work, minding your own business, enjoying the freedoms afforded to you by America, and they are tracking you and tracking you and tracking you, whether you are accused or under suspicion of doing any crime. They're tracking you and they're storing it. Now, Flock has said specifically, Flock has. Nobody else has come out and said one way or the other. But Flock has said a couple things to cover their ass. One, we don't use facial recognition technology. No. But agencies that are privy to these databases do. And they said, two, we don't have any contracts with ICE. We don't have any contracts with CBP. No, you don't. But you have contracts with local law enforcement and state transportation departments and safety departments who have other agencies tied to these departments who do need that info, who do work with ICE or CBP. And we'll get into it. Oh, the lengths they are going right now to circumvent try to circumvent the optics of this tracking software and these cameras directly to our immigration policy. They are going to great lengths to try to cover themselves on this. But the proof is in the pudding. It always is. It always is. Now, there is some backlash growing to this. There is backlash growing, and Flock has come out and made a few statements. They said their license plate readers do not use facial recognition. And they say the people who have contracts with us can control the flow of data. They can restrict it as much as they want. They can restrict who can access that data. Or they can go the other way, which they do. Now, the company says its records are deleted after 30 days automatically, but then goes on to admit in the fine print that anybody who has a contract with one of their cameras, well, they can set the parameters as they see fit. 30 days, 3 months, a year, 10 years, whatever parameters the people who are paying for the camera see fit, like law enforcement agencies. It keeps rolling back to these law enforcement agencies. They are the big problem here. They are the big problem. Because these cameras are being purchased by more than just law enforcement, okay? Businesses, schools, homeowners associations, property operators, private organizers. A lot of people are buying these Flock cameras. But it seems to be the law enforcement agencies that are the problem here. It's always the way, man. 120,000 cameras are across 49 states from Flock alone, not including the thousands of cameras being provided by a couple other makers that provide this service. That's just Flock. 120,000 across 49 states. And again, Alaska is not some bastion of privacy. Axon and Motorola are both providing ALPR technology in that state. Now, Flock has gone on to tout their achievements, and there are some achievements. There is nuance to these things. There always is. They say they've caught over 4,000 sex offenders, 2,100 stolen cars, 1,600 wanted people, and 160 missing people and one Amber Alert on top. Okay. That's good. That's good. And I do think that, some people would be okay with a little bit of bending our constitutional rights in service of catching sex offenders and people who are kidnapping people. I think a reasonable person would have that discussion. How much can our rights get trampled on in service of that kind of good? But the problem is, they're catching all of us on camera all day, every day. And they're not just catching us on camera, one time snap done. They know where you came from, where you're going, how long you've been there, who might be with you. All the information that ICE just can't wait to get their hands on. Flock is growing, baby. They are growing. They have been valued at $8.4 billion right now. $8.4 billion. So, there have been instances. There is pushback. There is outrage. What we are going to focus on going into the next segment is who gets hurt. Who gets hurt? Beyond the obvious violation of our constitutional rights, which, opposition to this technology, opposition to what Flock's doing, detractors are pointing at the obvious violations of our constitutional rights, the Fourth Amendment, specifically illegal search and seizures. People want warrants before you can go just get this information. Right now, no warrant needed. If a local law enforcement agency has a contract with Flock to use X amount of cameras in their precinct, in their region, their county, whatever, they don't go get warrants for every single car that they identify and cross-reference and track and detain They don't get warrants for every one of those. They do it as they see fit. They signed a contract. They can use the technology as they see fit. They're spending the money. And people are saying, whoa, you need a warrant to get this information, especially all of this information all the time on all the rest of us who are not under suspicion of having committed a crime.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things.
Citizens, rejoice. The state brings glorious news for the workers. The state seizes the means of production. Intel, U.S. Steel, taken for the glory of MAGA revolution. Our dear leader demands the state's rightful tribute. Companies may only buy or sell with his blessing. In his wisdom, the chairman alone picks winners and losers. He decides what the factory builds, where it stands, which worker keeps his job. No decision too small for our beloved chairman. And behold, the sons of the party. When these champions of the people grace a company's board, government contracts rain down. Drones, defense, mining, millions in shares. Such natural talent runs in the chairman's bloodline. And on every street, the loving embrace of state security. A free people has nothing to hide. Until you love constant surveillance, you don't love the state. Has there ever been a worker's paradise so great, so beautiful, so tremendous?
Sound ridiculous? Of course it is. When all they have left to scream about is imaginary communism, remember, it's not an accusation, it's a confession.
Brett breaks things because someone has to.
Yeah, man. They're tracking. Just think of the implications here. Before we get into who gets hurt, real quick, think of the implications here. Now, these contracts, they can be as wide open as the person who signs them wants them to be. And what I mean by that is that if somebody gets a contract, let's say a local law enforcement agency gets a contract with flock cameras, they can decide that every single person who wants across the country, anybody, completely public access to my flock camera data, they can do that. Or they can say, we want to give every other law enforcement agency in our state access, immediate access. Or they can say, we want to give ICE and CPB, or they could at least access, and ICE and CBP were doing that. They had up to 1,600 license plates tracked for immigration purposes and then stopped. And then Flock came out and did a 180 on that. Or camera, can I say license plate? Cameras. Tracking license plates. Thank you, Scotty. They had 1,600 cameras tracking license plates and had thousands of identities. And they stopped now. For now, they stopped. And they've gone about other means to get this information. But you got to understand, if somebody wants to make this data available to everyone or anyone they choose, they can. They can. And when you think about the implications, think about you're going to friends' houses, family members' houses. You're going to your place of business, work, other businesses that you frequent or do business with, medical facilities, religious facilities, or even political events. Think about that. We know exactly where this person's coming and going. By the way, they're this denomination of this religion, and they support this candidate and this movement. No, there's no nefarious way our agencies could use that data, right? Yeah, Scotty,
you
what's
ready
up?
for this? And it's something I didn't give you earlier, but there's been some public reporting indicating discussions regarding potential data systems or security management collaborations with some of the executive branches,
There
like
it is.
Social Security or IRS.
Yep.
What about? And it doesn't mention here, so I'm just going to be saying this, recklessly. But what about voting?
What about voting?
How can they use this to manipulate and track you voting, where you're going? Hey, we have cameras saying that you went to a different polling place here.
Our flock camera system has found an irregularity in your voting process, whatever it may be.
We saw you were in the vicinity of 10 different voting locations.
Yeah, right, right.
And we suspect,
Yeah.
It's
Just think about that. Think about that. What doc do you see? When? How many times? Your church. Your local organization or rally. Any support for anything political. Think about this. As Scott's telling you, yeah, agencies are openly saying we're going to get involved. Yeah, it starts with IRS, right? It starts with the Department of Transportation, right? And ends up at the DOJ and the FBI.
even think about like what we saw happen in Minnesota, over the last few months.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned, yeah,
and like you said, but like the group that was tracking ICE.
Yeah.
Or hey, we saw that your car was in the vicinity and matched the
Right.
description, and now we're showing up at your house.
Yes.
With a bench warrant or with an appearance.
We saw this car at an anti-ICE rally. Then we tracked its movements to this house. Not only are we going to search or question everybody at the house, but we're going to hand this data over to ICE, and we're going to find out if anybody inside here is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a surveillance state. Actually, yeah. Like, I love Minority Report. It's one of my favorite movies. But it's scary when you actually live in it.
When I was explaining this to my wife, and I was I just lost my train of thought there. That's wild.
Scotty, how often do you watch that happen to me on air? At least once a week, I just get completely derailed. Look at his face.
I'm dumbfounded right now. That's crazy.
Bro, you've come on air hundreds of times. That's the first time you've stopped yourself dead in your tracks. You're good, bud. You're golden. It's a fun little feeling, isn't it? I love it. I love it. So, you know what's really awesome about this, by the way, before we kick off some of the instances of, who gets hurt here, Flock does not publish a complete public map showing where its cameras are. You can be watched. They can know where you are, but you don't get to know where they are. Isn't that cute? Now, there is a website called DFlock. So if you want to know if there's flock cameras around you, you can check out DFlock. And as far as what they look like, we're going to give you instances of what they look like in just a little bit. But are we coming to a break? No, yeah. So we're going to give you instances of what they look like in a little bit. But first I want to talk about who's getting hurt real quick. Because we are going to show you pictures of these flock cameras. We are. And Flock even said themselves, oh, by the way, yeah, this could be misused to violate rights. No doubt. Okay, so, all right. So who's getting hurt? Who's getting hurt here? Let's just focus on some egregious instances that get more and more egregious. So, in Toledo, Ohio, and we're just going to kick it off with Toledo, Ohio, Brandon Upchurch was identified on a flock camera, misidentified as a suspect in a crime, stopped at gunpoint, and when he got out of his car, he was mauled by a dog. He wasn't the guy. A misread. And these misreads are getting more and more common. The percentages on the misreads are rising. Some states aren't releasing them. Some customers aren't releasing them. Some are. In some places, it's up to 70% accurate. 70. Meanwhile, Brandon Upchurch is getting mauled by a dog. It was because the reader misread the 7 on his license plate as a 2. A 7 became a 2, and he got mauled by a dog. In Roseville, California, they tracked it. They tracked it a whole year of flock. 71% accuracy in Roseville. 71%. Let's talk about some other egregious instances. 26 documented cases where officers specifically used the network to spy on wives, girlfriends, exes, new partners. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable? Once again, it's law enforcement that misuses it. It's the cops that are misusing it, abusing it. Marcy Blakely, a 50-year-old Air Force veteran. She started dating a guy named Michael Steffen in 2022. Steffen was a well-regarded law enforcement officer. He had a 20-year career. At one point, he served as a chief. He was jealous. He was controlling. He would check her messages. He would try to follow her, things like that. And so she dumped him. She dumped him. And after she dumped him, she was like, man, I'm getting followed. I feel like I'm getting watched. I'm getting watched. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm going to the gym. I'm going out on dates. I feel like I'm being watched. Well, Steffman, her ex, was pressed by the police for an explanation on why he may have been seen here, may have been following her. Have you been following her? What have you been doing? Well, they did an audit. Of the flock safety cameras that he had access to in the area. They had a hunch. How did he know where she was at all times? They had a hunch. So they audited the flock camera systems that this officer had access to and found that he had accessed her data 600 times over 13 months to track her whereabouts. He was at the grocery store. He was at the gym. He was following her at dates. He was arrested. Harassment, license plate reader misuse, which is a charge. And before his case went to trial, he committed suicide, which is tragic, obviously. In Wisconsin, Officer Christian Morales used the flock monitor cameras to track his ex-girlfriend to see if she went to a reproductive health clinic. And when he got caught, he said, oh, well, I was just doing real-time, on-the-move welfare checks. No, he was going to see if his girlfriend was going to get abortions because she was cheating on him. He thought, insane. That's two insane officers with access to what you're doing at all times. I'm sure it's just these handful of examples. I'm sure it's not widespread at all. I'm sure. We've got 26 officers who've gotten charges on this. How many have not been caught? Unbelievable. In Florida, Officer Jamaris Brown. This guy, Jamaris Brown, caught his girl cheating. She was driving back rapidly, trying to lie to him on the phone. So on FaceTime, he showed her in real time, her driving down the road using the department's flock camera surveillance in real time. He said, oh, you're not on your way driving home? This is you on your way driving home. And when she got there, he was waiting for her with his gun out. Another guy, Alexander Vanny in California, stalked his ex-girlfriend and her kid. Using the flock cameras. And when we come back, I'm going to show you some video. What I'm going to show you is going to piss you off, and it should scare you. It's going to piss you off when you see how indignant and forceful and obstinate and the officers involved in this case, they are bullies. They lean on this flock camera system as if it's Bible, gospel. And we're going to watch one woman's constitutional rights get absolutely stomped. And we're going to watch it all in real time. This is egregious. This should scare you because it could be you. This could be absolutely anybody. This could be you. It could be you getting mauled by a dog because the flock camera misread a 7 for a 2. It could be you. Ladies out there, fellas too, If you're dating an officer, watch out.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things.
Who's your favorite mob lawyer? Tom Hagen in The Godfather? Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad? Maurice Levy in The Wire? Or how about Neil Mink in The Sopranos? Well, move over. There's a new contender in town. Meet Todd Blanche. He's Donald Trump's personal criminal defense lawyer. You remember Todd Blanche. He's the guy who lost 34 out of 34 counts when a hometown jury convicted Trump of 34 felonies. Todd Blanche is the guy who flew to Florida to meet with the notorious convicted pedophile of our time, Ghislaine Maxwell. Must have been a good meeting. Maxwell was moved from a real prison to a club fed with yoga classes. Even the inmates were offended, being stuck with a pedophile. Now Donald Trump wants his criminal defense lawyer to run the Justice Department. A president's criminal defense lawyer running the Justice Department? Wow, that's Hall of Fame mob lawyer stuff. Todd Blanche. Donald said he'd appoint only the best.
Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts, no fluff.
Okay. We're going to bring you the story of Chrisanna Elzer. Chrisanna Elzer in Colorado. She got a visit from the local police force. She got a visit from a local police officer. And she got accused of something. And we're going to bring you the interaction. We're going to bring you, we don't have to bring too much of the detail because the interaction pretty much speaks for itself. And this should scare you because this absolutely could be you. This is Chrisanna Elzer in Denver getting a visit from her local police officer.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
Chrisanna Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09. Exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
When a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left. At 12:09, that's when you left town.
To get?
No, to stop at Ridge Trail.
Wait a minute.
And take a package. Well, there's no shushing. I don't need to be.
I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that Flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure.
Unless I was 100% sure. She was accused of being a porch pirate. She was accused of taking a package from a porch in Beau Mar, Colorado. This is the officer coming to her with Flock camera footage of her truck in the area because they mistakenly identified her on the ring cam. That's right. So they took a picture of the person who actually took the package from that home's ring cam, and they matched it with data that showed that Chrisanna had driven in and out of that town at a certain time that would have allowed for her to have taken that package, just decided that was her. This is her coming and going. She did it. Brought it to her, and that was their attitude. We are 100% sure. No, there is no arguing. There is no shush. You did it. Her husband was livid. She was beside herself. Eventually, she was able to gather enough evidence, officers, evidence that she had not taken the package. She had evidence and testimony and corroborating where she was the entire time frame that the package was taken. She took this evidence and presented it to the courts and had her case dropped. And then they wrote her a little note, an email. In an email, they said, "Nicely done, Nicely done proving your innocence. That's what she got. Not a we're sorry. Not a we're sorry. Not an apology from that officer. Not an apology from the CEO of Flock who went on camera to say specifically, do I owe her an apology? No, I'm not going to apologize for Jack. No, I'm not apologizing. And yes, there is some truth to that. I mean, if somebody goes to Home Depot and buys a Black & Decker hammer and then beats somebody up with it, no, Black & Decker shouldn't be sued. But why don't you show just a little bit of compassion? I know, I'm being, your feelings. You don't have to go on camera and say, no, not my fault, middle finger to the world, middle finger to all of you. You don't have to do that. And yet, that is what he did. That is what he did. They sent her an email saying, nicely done proving your innocence. Because that's what it took. It took her going and being a gumshoe around town, collecting all of this evidence so she doesn't end up in jail for porch piracy because of flock cams. Savannah, Georgia, just hot off the wire, right? After an internal audit of the flock cameras, they found 6 different officers conducting searches unrelated to law enforcement, searches focusing on personal acquaintances and family members, and one of them took it straight to ICE. One of them, behind everybody's back, collected all of this data and handed it over to ICE locally. All sneaky. You see, ICE, they are the ones who really want to get their hands on this. And for a little while they were, and they stopped. Now, Flock has come out and said, we don't do business with them. All right, that may be true. But there are ways around this. One place that Flock is booming is Texas. Now, I'm going to let that soak in. Where do you think that kind of technology would be increasingly useful? The border. Of course. Now, there's a U.S. rep from Texas, a guy named Keith Self, Republican. He is proposing legislation in that state to require federal agencies to obtain warrants before accessing flock camera data. That is a Republican rep pushing for warrants before you can access this data. Because everybody knows how bad this is. Everybody understands the optics attached to this. Everybody gets it, including Republican reps. And he knows what's going on in his state right now. Now, we don't know exactly how many flock cameras are in Texas, okay? But we do know that the Texas Department of Public Safety is the one contracted mainly with Flock, and they do not release their information to the public. They do not. Advocacy groups are trying to track these things, and some advocacy groups in Texas, they aggregated all their data, and they estimate there's around 10,000 cameras in Texas alone. 10,000, including several thousand in the Houston area. Now, here's the thing. The Texas Department of Public Safety, they have around 200 separate partnership initiatives between local law enforcement and the state troopers. There are all of these interagency connections, initiatives, task forces, special missions, all sorts of ways that these different law enforcement agencies are connected to each other in different law enforcement capacities and initiatives. So, it's not ICE that has the contract with Flock or even with the Texas Department of Public Safety. But there are ways around this. There have been abuses of this technology by ICE and CBP in Texas. And that is what's got Keith Self, all fired up, and a lot of other people. Now, Flock themselves are explicitly restricted from sharing their data with ICE. But in one case, ICE got in contact with a school that had a contract with Flock. So Flock signs his contract with a school in Houston. This school puts some Flock cameras around their campus. Then ICE comes calling and says, hey, we need some data on some of your students. And that Houston high school obliged. Handed over all of the data, all the faces, the times, the days they were there, the days they weren't there, who they were hanging out with. Gave it all over to ICE. Here's another tactic they're using, okay? Local and state troopers, local law enforcement and state troopers in Texas, they are going about their business enforcing the law, chasing bad guys, whatever. And when they come across a residence that they think may be housing undocumented immigrants, then they go to ICE. They go to ICE with the details, whatever those details may be. Hey, we just questioned somebody at this residence and there was 5, maybe 6 brown people in there. Maybe that's something you might want to take a look at. And they've been doing it over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. As far as CBP goes, we don't have a contract with CBP. We don't have a contract with ICE. Here's what they're doing. Things like this. The Texas Department of Public Safety, who has the contract with ICE, has just approved a $26 million brand new contract with the company. A brand new $26 million contract. It is to surveil state roads because it wants to support and bolster Operation Lone Star. Operation Lone Star, which was started before the Department of Public Safety's contract with Flock, is a multi-billion-dollar effort with CBP to help fortify the border. So let me tell you how this plays out with their brand new $26 million contract. Because of Operation Lone Star, now we're sending state troopers out to the border. And state troopers are at the border, and they're there, and they get this Flock camera footage coming in, and they see this car coming in, and they get on the phone to ICE. Hey boys, we got an unidentified vehicle with some unauthorized immigrants coming in on Route 5. Lets them know exactly where they are. Happy hunting, boys. And then ICE goes and gets them. That is literally how this is playing out. Our CBP goes and gets them. It's the state troopers. And in some cases, local law enforcement officers hanging out at the border and analyzing Flock camera data from the border, then giving real-time information to CBP so they can come and intercept them. No, you don't have a contract with CBP, but the Department of Public Safety does, and the state troopers do, and local law enforcement does. There's also a little task force with state police and ICE, Task Force 287G. This allowed, for a while now, local law enforcement to coordinate with ICE. Local law enforcement to support ICE functions, ICE detainments. ICE doesn't have the contract with Flock, but local law enforcement does. How do you think the local law enforcement will then assist ICE in this manner? I mean, and so now in Texas, Flock cameras are being hacked. They're being smashed. They're being blinded. In Dallas alone, there have been 25 attacks on Flock cameras since March. They're investigating a string of anti-Flock vandalism in Houston. And it is not just Houston and Dallas. This is the tie that binds us. There's only a few things that bring Americans together like this has. I just told you Republican Rep Keith Self is out here saying we need warrants for this. It's seeping into other races. Every single gubernatorial candidate in Florida here is pushing anti-flock rhetoric on the campaign trail. All of them. Byron Donaldson, all of them. The front runners down the ticket, blue, red, every one of them is saying we don't want it. If we have to have it, it's got to be a warrant. This is the tie that is binding us. It's crazy. Who would have thought? World Cup, for whatever reason, we all get freaking fired up about the World Cup. The Epstein files and flock cameras. These are our shared experiences. This is where Americans come together. Regardless of political affiliation, race, creed, color. This is one of the ties that is binding us. Because let me tell you something. When I tell you it's not just Texas, it's not just Texas. It's not just Texas. And it is not just public officials and reps and gubernatorial candidates. No. This has become a legitimate movement. This is the new face of anti-establishment. These are the new revolutionaries. You're not going to believe. You're not even going to believe. And it is all over the country. And we're going to bring you some examples of what's going down with these flock cameras and how people are fighting back against a surveillance state, because that is exactly what we are. We are a surveillance state now. And this pisses everybody off, left to right, from the way left to the far right, in the middle, everybody. This is a tie that binds.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things.
Lincoln understood something that comfortable people didn't want to hear. A nation cannot be half one thing and half its opposite and survive. Not forever, not even for long. In his time, the question was slavery, the moral rod at the foundation, the thing everyone knew was wrong and almost no one would say. Ours is a different rod, but Lincoln's diagnosis is the same. You cannot be half democracy and half autocracy.
I can do anything I want.
Have free press.
Their license should be taken away.
And have state propaganda. Have rule of law and have rule of one man. The House is dividing again. Lincoln told us what that means. Are we listening?
A message from the Lincoln Project to the Democratic Party. Stop looking backward. We got whooped. Stop with the endless focus groups. Stop with the self-doubt. This isn't complicated. Only 1 out of 4 voters think we're heading in the right direction. Inflation is out of control. Gas is headed to $6 a gallon. Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in history. Republicans don't care. They're good with Trump taking your tax dollars to pay off cop beaters. The Justice Department operates like mob lawyers. The Epstein files? Not one prosecution. It's a joke. AI threatens every middle-class job and is turning billionaires into trillionaires. And Democrats are asking how to win? At the Lincoln Project, we don't have an identity crisis. We're here to beat the crap out of MAGA and save the country we love. You want to win? Attack, attack, attack. We do it better than anybody. If you're tired of playing games, join the fighters. Support the Lincoln Project. Let's get this done.
Because I've had enough.
You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because silence isn't an option.
Okay, let's take a look at the movement. And there is a movement. Oh, yeah. People are throwing paint at them, ramming their trucks into them. In Idaho, somebody rammed a truck right into them. People are, we saw one video of a gentleman sitting on the side of the road in a lawn chair with a gigantic pole covering the flock camera as the cops pull up, and another guy who's driving by shouts out the window, "Hey, give me your name. And when they arrest you, I'm going to come bail you out. Love you for doing this." And then he points to the cops, bleep you, and bleep you for not protecting us, and drives off. Gets the guy's name, promises to come bail him out as the cops pull up, because he's holding up a cardboard piece blocking the flock camera. It's happening all over the country. And people are canceling contracts, by the way, Fort Collins, Eugene, Madison, Knoxville, all over the country. Some in Syracuse, my hometown. Walla Walla, Washington, all over. They're canceling contracts, but some people are getting a little more active than just canceling contracts. Now, I probably shouldn't be showing you this. Honestly, we debated it, but bleep it. We're going to show it to you. This is, what's his name again, Scotty? Sean Getz. This is a social media influencer, Sean Getz. Now, he's got a colorful background, but he's going to do a little tongue-in-cheek piece about the radical vandals that are taking out flock cameras. You got to see this. Here we go.
This is a flock camera, one of about 100,000 installed across the United States to watch over you and keep you safe. But there are criminals among us who believe that these violate their privacy and human rights. These hooligans are going out and purchasing battery-operated reciprocating saws like this one and 6-inch Diablo steel demon blades, knowing it's more efficient and quieter than angle grinders. They go out dressed in non-identifying disposable clothing, including work gloves and full face coverage so as to not display the color of their skin, their eyes, their hair color, or their tattoos. Of course, these people are careful, so they make purchases in cash and keep no receipts. In preparation of their illicit activities, these vile individuals use deflock.org to pick a target and plan a route that avoids camera detection. With all phones, smartwatches, and geolocating devices left at home, these villains know if they're not caught in the act, they'll get away scot-free. I've set up a demonstration on my private property to show you just how efficient the lunatics have become. With their saw wrapped in a trash bag, they approach from behind the camera's line of sight and tear right through this black aluminum alloy post. Hopefully Flock has secured the cameras a little better so they don't get a personal injury lawsuit. Once these degenerates have destroyed the post, they go for the camera too, even the solar panel. They're thorough in their destruction to ensure maximum monetary loss, and they always leave the remnants behind as a visceral message to all. After this, the cold-hearted anarchist makes their predetermined getaway, casually yet swift. By adhering to this specific set of principles, this wild subculture of flock hunters ensures that their MO is always the same. The modus operandi never changes. That way, if one of their members is picked up by law enforcement, they will face one charge of vandalism, but tying them to any previous or subsequent acts of destruction will be nearly impossible for the prosecutor. Some say flock hunters are domestic terrorists, others true patriots protecting our rights, our freedom, and our future. As for me, well, I'm just an unbiased, independent journalist.
Yeah, me too. Just in case you were wondering how they were doing it. Oh, man.
There's another video I saw going viral of somebody going around to all the flock cameras in his city and then keeping track of the way they're installed, because most of them aren't installed to code of the city. So they're not like actually, building a cement block and placing it on there like a pole is. So if there's an accident, so he's keeping track of them to report to the city to find whoever installed them.
I love it. And then hit them with violations and report them to the...
Everybody else gets them. Why not you guys?
Why not you guys? Why not? Oh, dude, this is beautiful. Or I mean, radical, vile. No, not beautiful. Civil unrest, anarchy. I love it. I actually do. And so this is the tie that binds, man. We got another video. We got one other one I wanted to show. Wasn't there the one with the person hanging off the lamp out in front of daylight? Maybe I didn't. Was it that one? Here. Oh, that's okay. Look, I'm just broad daylight. just clipping the camera. Just clipping it. We saw one video where a guy went up, he climbed a pole to clip the camera's feed, and it was already clipped. He's like, oh, this one was done already. Amazing. The tie that binds us, apparently. On the left, Hassan Piker, a noted left host, podcast influencer, said every single American is being surveilled at every single moment of the day. He goes on to list the constitutional violations. Everybody on the left, obviously up in arms on this, and everybody on the right is up in arms on this. Tucker Carlson did a whole show, did a whole podcast, dedicated a whole show to the flock cameras. Called us an always-on surveillance state. Quote, if you were to give up all privacy, you would in exchange get what? Safety? Of course. And that's the trade always. The problem is it hasn't worked that way because safety has never been a priority of the ruling class. Whoa, Tucker. Tucker has definitely jumped off the MAGA wagon. I mean, he's still a right-wing, conservative mouthpiece. He is. But he has jumped off the bandwagon. He has left the cult. And he said some things about Donald recently that I can get behind. I take it all with a grain of salt because of his track record. But, you know, I know all the vile things these people say when they finally say something correct because they've finally been affected. We can't just start berating them because of what they said before. Let's just accept that people can change certain stands and viewpoints and opinions, and sometimes the stars align and people like Tucker Carlson will say things that we can get behind. It happens. We got to take the mature stance on this and just, you know, highlight when he does get it right, like this. He went on to say, it's not drug-addicted kids knocking down flock cameras for fun. It's sober, decent, patriotic Americans who believe the promises of their country. Tucker Carlson doubling down on civil unrest. Okay, that's a new Tucker. Chaos, anarchy, revolution. Tucker Carlson. You know, it's funny. What is this? Why does this have us so pissed off? I was thinking about it. Why does this have us so pissed off? There is definitely something different about us when we're in our cars. Like it's a portable piece of our home. And any intrusion on it, man, we go straight to sixth gear. We go straight to red alert. And we become people that we normally wouldn't be. We hit like this fight or flight that we would enter into should we be challenged this way on our property, in our kingdom. And when you think about it, like when we're walking around the streets, it never goes like this. Like if somebody's walking a little bit slower in front of you, you don't pull up an inch from their butt and start waving your arms around acting stupid. You quickly make a decision to either accept the current pace or go a little bit faster as you calmly go around them. It doesn't become all this, but it's something about our cars. And whatever that underlying psychological, fixation is, it is poked by this flock camera intrusion. Whatever it is within us that makes us act this way on the road, an extension of that is being shown here with these flock cameras. We feel violated. We are pissed off. And when I say we, I mean the royal we. All of us. America is pissed off. Something about us in our cars. It's just different. So where's this going? I got a little theory. I got a little theory about what this is going to look like going forward. I do. Flock isn't the only company doing this. Like I said, Vigilant Solutions is another company doing it. Motorola's doing it. And Axon. Axon is doing it. And when I mentioned Axon, your ears might have perked up because I've mentioned them before. Axon is the company that makes body cameras for not just local law enforcement, but ICE and CBP. Axon is the company that Don invested in 2 weeks up to $500,000 in investments into Axon 2 weeks before they were contracted by DHS on a multi-million dollar contract to provide more body cams. Okay. That's right. Axon is Don's company. Axon's the company that Don makes money on if it proliferates, if it becomes more widely used, if they receive more government contracts. That money goes directly into Don's pocket. Okay. So right now, Flock is the main distributor, and they use their own AI tools to disseminate the information. Axon, now in Hawaii, 2 dozen other states, just recently signed a contract in my hometown of Syracuse, while half of Syracuse is pushing back, trying to get contracts canceled with Flock. They are currently, some law enforcement agencies and other state administration entities are currently signing brand new contracts with Axon. Axon is growing. Okay, what does this look like? Axon gets a massive government contract to build more cameras. Cameras who are contracted with us and go to our agencies. Whatever it is, legally or morally, that stopped ICE and CBP from personally getting contracts with Flock, whatever it was, whether it was legal, moral, for now, they don't. Whatever that little impediment is, it will be crushed under the weight of executive authority. Don will pave the way to not only buy Axon ALPRs, but also, like Scott hinted to, allow access by our government agencies to this data. Not just the IRS, but DHS, the FBI, CIA, whoever. And they won't be using Flock's AI. They've already got a state-run AI overlord, Palantir. They will use Palantir AI technology to cross-reference all of the other agencies that are already using Palantir AI, ICE, CBP, DHS, FBI, and create one massive database. They'll use all their dirty tricks with their FaceTime app. They'll use the dirty tricks with the fake cell phone towers. They'll have government contracted ALPR cameras tracking you every second of every day, where you go, where you came from, when you do this, church, schools, your place of work, your doctor's office, all the time. So if they can track your vehicle and where you go all day long, and then they have other nefarious ways to find out who's in the building you're currently in and what relationship you have to all of them, that's it. That's ball game. That is not just ball game for our immigration policy. That is ball game for us as American citizens who used to enjoy privacy rights. That's where I fear we're going with this. Axon is already spreading. Every time it gets a new contract, Don gets paid. It is only a matter of time before they get a government contract. Blow past the Fourth Amendment and any other constitutional right that might stop this. Cross-reference everything they have. Like Scotty said, the voting places. Your political affiliations. Your religious affiliations. Your friends, your family, where you go. What you do when you're there. That's it. That's ball game. That's Minority Report. That's Minority Report. Next step is a precog. I wouldn't be surprised if Don starts talking about precogs in a presser randomly. I got the best precogs. They see they see all the bigly, strongly. I'm telling you, that's where we're going. We are living in Minority Report. It is a surveillance state. I'll see you kids tomorrow.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.